Have you ever asked yourself, are you truly living your own life, or just trying to please everyone else? What drains you isn't the outside world, but the things you keep clinging to inside, things that no longer serve you. And here's the secret. Every time you let go of what no longer belongs, you take a step closer to real freedom. There's a difficult truth many of us choose to ignore. We are the ones who burden ourselves. We carry the weight of strained relationships, unrealistic expectations, and quiet fears, holding on to them as if they're essential to who we are. But have you noticed? Every time you release one of these burdens, every time you step back, you move closer to a deeper kind of freedom. Life isn't about constantly gathering more. It's about the art of letting go. In stillness, we find strength. In simplicity, we rediscover who we are, beneath the noise, beyond the roles we're expected to play. What I'm about to share with you isn't motivational fluff or faraway theory. These are powerful truths drawn from Stoic philosophy and from my own lived experiences. They didn't just shift my perspective. They transformed me from the inside out. So I invite you, no, I urge you, to give this your full attention. Listen to each word as if a close friend were whispering it to you in the quiet of night. Because every moment you invest in this journey is a step toward a life that's fuller, freer, and far more meaningful. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Let go of the need to be loved by everyone. Picture this. Your life is a masterpiece, and you are the one and only artist who gets to decide its shape and colors. But if you're constantly changing its brushstrokes just to win public approval, will that painting still be yours? Detaching from the need to be loved by everyone isn't just freeing. It's a declaration that you are the rightful ruler of your own life. In today's world, validation has become the currency of worth. A single like on social media, a compliment from a coworker, or a passing glance from a stranger can make us feel alive. But are we really, as Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Real strength doesn't lie in the opinions of others. It lies in mastering your own thoughts. Sometimes letting go doesn't make you weaker, it makes you free. And as we saw earlier, stepping away from the need to be loved is the first bold step toward reclaiming your power. Even history's greatest minds, those who dared to question the world and shift its course, were met with rejection. Think of Socrates, forced to drink poison by his own city. Or Galileo, condemned by the very society he sought to enlighten. If such brilliant, world-changing individuals couldn't escape judgment and misunderstanding, what makes us believe we ever could? The truth is, every person who looks at you does so through their own lens, one colored by their personal experiences, hidden fears, and quiet expectations. You can't control that. You never could. So why exhaust yourself trying to mold yourself into everyone's favorite version of you? The day you release that need, the day you stop trying to be liked by all, is the day you taste a kind of freedom few ever know. A freedom that allows you to speak your truth without fear, to live by your own rhythm, even to stumble and fall with your head held high. Because you are finally living your life, not a version crafted to meet someone else's standards. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow serenely." That simple shift, adjusting your mind, not yourself, holds immense power. Stop contorting your soul to meet everyone's expectations. Instead, stretch your thinking. Realize no one, not even the kindest, most gifted person alive, can please the whole world. But letting go doesn't mean shutting yourself off. It doesn't mean becoming cold, distant, or careless. It means understanding deeply that your value has never depended on how many people cheer for you. It comes from within, from the quiet fire of purpose and the steady heartbeat of authenticity. Take Franz Kafka, a man whose name is now etched in literary history, yet during his life, he sought no audience, no applause. He wrote in silence, alone. Not to impress the world, but because something within had to be expressed. His genius only reached us because of the loyalty of a friend who refused to let his work fade away. Kafka's story is proof. Your truest impact doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being real. So now, let me ask you a question. One you might sit with after this video ends. If you no longer needed anyone's love to feel whole, what would you finally dare to do? Would you chase that long-shelved dream? Say the words you've buried for years? Or perhaps, for the first time, simply rest, without guilt, without fear of falling behind? Most importantly, would you finally love yourself, without waiting for the world to give you permission? Make no mistake, this path isn't easy. It will ask you to face the silence, to stand tall in moments of rejection, to walk alone when others turn away. But as the Stoic Seneca wisely said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom isn't given, it's earned through courage. And when you're brave enough to let go, you'll realize the love you've been searching for has always lived within you. It's the love you give yourself, wholeheartedly, unapologetically, that sets you free. So start today. When you stop chasing approval, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. And with that clarity comes a deeper truth. Loving yourself means living your truth, even when no one else understands it. So don't let your life become a script written by others. Step away from the noise. Pause. And in that pause, rediscover who you really are. Because in the end, the question that truly matters isn't who loves me, but do I love myself enough to live with honesty and courage? Once you release the exhausting need for approval, you'll uncover even more hidden weights, subtle but heavy. One of the most deceptive among them, the desire to know everything. Let's explore that in our next lesson. Lesson 2. Abandon the desire to know all. In a world where almost any question can be answered in seconds, just a quick search away, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that knowing more will help us feel safer, more in control, and less afraid of the unknown. But ironically, this insatiable craving for knowledge can chain the mind rather than free it. We scroll endlessly. We ask and ask and ask, seeking certainty where none exists. But what if this constant need to understand everything is actually stealing our peace? The truth is, not every question needs an answer, and not every answer brings peace. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful reminder. You don't have to know everything to live wisely or meaningfully. In fact, freedom often begins when you stop trying to grasp what lies beyond your reach. The Stoics believed that the human mind operates best when it's focused on what is within its control. Your choices, your thoughts, your actions, your reactions. That's where clarity and peace grow. But when we obsess over life's mysteries, why something happened, what might come next, or how the future will unfold, we overburden our mental space. Think of the mind as a cup. If it's already filled to the brim with questions and noise, how can there be space for stillness, Try pouring water into a full glass. It overflows. The same thing happens with the mind. When we overload it with constant information, worry, and the pursuit of all-knowing clarity, there's simply no room left for peace or for presence. Letting go of the need to know everything is not a failure of intelligence. It's an act of wisdom. It's trusting that some things will unfold in their own time, and that you don't need to hold the whole universe in your mind to live fully in your moment. When we free our minds from the pressure to know it all, we create space for peace, for presence, and for purpose. And as we explored earlier, not every question needs an answer. Sometimes it's in the not knowing that life begins to unfold more gently. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful reminder. Suffering doesn't come from not knowing enough. It comes from giving too much weight to the idea that we must know everything. In fact, the more we chase answers, the more overwhelmed we tend to feel. It's a paradox. The deeper we dig for certainty, the more inadequate we become, because no matter how much we learn, there's always more just out of reach, and that leaves us restless, insecure, constantly chasing clarity we may never find. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, is it really necessary to understand everything? We often believe that knowledge equals control, that the more we understand, the safer and more prepared we'll be. But life doesn't operate that way. It's not a formula to be solved. It's a mystery to be experienced. The vastness of this world doesn't demand that we grasp every detail. What it quietly asks is far more profound. Can you appreciate the simple things? Can you find meaning in the ordinary? Picture someone who spends every day seeking answers, from global news and scientific debates to existential questions and random facts. They scroll endlessly, jumping from article to video to heated online conversations. And yet, at the end of the day, they don't feel wiser. They feel drained, because for every answer gained, 10 more questions appear. It becomes a cycle, an exhausting chase, like running after a mirage in the desert. Just when you think you've reached it, it fades, and you're left even thirstier than before. The Stoics saw this clearly. They urged us to shift our focus, not toward knowing everything, but toward living well. To wake up each morning and ask, what truly matters today? What helps me grow? What deserves my time and energy? When you release the pressure to be all-knowing, your mind becomes lighter, calmer. Not because you've stopped learning, but because you've started learning with intention. It's not about knowing every breaking headline. It's about knowing what nurtures you, what builds a more peaceful, more purposeful existence. That's why Stoicism places such deep value on simplicity, in both thought and action. But make no mistake, letting go of this desire isn't easy. It calls for bravery, for patience, for a willingness to sit in the unknown and say, that's okay. Still, it's a path worth walking. Because the moment you stop trying to decode everything, you start noticing what truly matters: your health, your relationships, your time, your growth. So ask yourself honestly, is what I'm searching for actually helping me live better? Or is it another distraction dressed up as purpose? Can you give yourself permission to let go of the questions that don't serve you? And finally, let your mind rest. Freedom doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from accepting that some questions were never meant to be answered at all. And in that acceptance, you don't just lighten your mental load, you unlock something deeper: authenticity. So if you're looking for peace, don't aim to conquer the universe. Start small. Start here. And now, let's look at the next invisible chain we often carry, one tied not to the mind, but to time itself. Let's move forward. When we stop chasing every answer, we begin to focus on what truly matters. And in that space, clarity grows. Now, the next step is learning to protect that clarity by being intentional with where you direct your attention and energy. Start by limiting the time you spend chasing information each day. The internet is endless, and so are its rabbit holes. But your time and focus are not. Learn to ask questions only when they truly serve your growth, when they move you forward instead of just keeping your mind busy. Rather than scattering your attention across every headline, trend, or passing curiosity, try anchoring it to the areas that genuinely matter in your life. Ask yourself, does this help me become better, calmer, wiser? If not, maybe it doesn't deserve your attention. And perhaps most importantly, cultivate intellectual humility. Accepting that you'll never know it all isn't a failure. It's a strength. It frees you from the pressure of perfection and invites you to live with curiosity, not anxiety. Letting go of the need to know everything is a quiet act of courage. It untangles your mind, lightens your spirit, and makes space for a deeper peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from having all the answers, but from knowing which questions truly matter. Because life isn't a puzzle meant to be solved in one sitting. It's a journey meant to be felt, to be lived, to be understood, not through facts, but through presence. And the more you let go of the unnecessary, the more clearly you begin to see what really matters. That's where meaning lies. Not an endless analysis, but an intentional awareness. So, are you ready to live with that kind of freedom? If this message resonates with you, if it speaks to something real inside you, tap the like button so I know you're walking this path with me. And if you have a different perspective, I welcome it, truly. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, exchange ideas, and grow alongside you. Now let's move to the next step. One that might challenge you, but will ultimately empower you more than anything else. It's time to take full ownership of your life. No more blame. No more excuses. Let's begin. Taking ownership of your life means reclaiming the pen so that no one else writes your story for you. And now, it's time to explore how embracing responsibility can become your greatest source of strength. Think about this. In role-playing video games, every decision you make shapes the outcome. If you make poor choices, the results often reflect that. But you don't blame the game developers for making it too hard. You adapt. You revisit the challenge, sharpen your strategy, and learn from your missteps. You evolve. And that's what makes the game worth playing. Life works the same way. You can't hit restart. You can't rewrite your past, but you can take control of the character you're playing, yourself. And here's the truth. Every time you blame someone else for your circumstances, you rob yourself of the chance to grow. You hand away your power. Picture this common moment. You've just walked out of a meeting with a potential business partner. The deal didn't go through. Your instinct might be to blame them. Maybe they didn't understand your value. Or maybe the market is just too saturated. But pause. What do those thoughts actually achieve? Now flip the perspective. Ask yourself, did I prepare deeply enough? Could I have communicated more clearly? Was my strategy aligned with their needs? The moment you start asking these questions, something shifts. You stop pointing outward and start transforming inward. That's the moment you reclaim the pen and begin rewriting your own story. And here's the fascinating part. The more responsibility you accept, the more empowered you become. Responsibility isn't a punishment. It's a platform. Many people mistake avoidance for freedom. They think that if they deny responsibility, they're lighter, freer. But in reality, that mindset keeps them stuck. Because if you're not responsible, you're also admitting you have no power to change. Accepting responsibility, on the other hand, is a bold declaration. It says, I can grow, I can improve, I can shape my life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus captured this perfectly. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. You might not control what life throws at you, but you always control your reaction, and in that space lies your deepest freedom. So how can you practice this power in a meaningful way? Start by treating every difficulty not as an obstacle, but as a puzzle to solve. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Shift to, what can I do to influence the outcome? And remember, growth takes time. Not every act of responsibility comes with instant rewards, but every single one builds your strength, resilience, and clarity in the long run. Finally, don't fall into the trap of thinking you must carry it all alone. Even the strongest among us lean on others. Wisdom, after all, isn't just about self-mastery. It's about knowing when to seek support. Taking responsibility isn't a burden, it's a turning point. It's the moment you stop waiting for life to change, and instead realize you are the change you've been waiting for. Yes, learn from others, listen, observe, take wisdom where it's offered. But never hand over your pen. Your life story belongs to you, and only you. In a world as unpredictable as ours, it's easy to feel lost in the chaos. Situations shift, circumstances surprise us. Things slip beyond our control. But here's a quiet truth. You don't need to control the entire world. You only need to learn how to navigate through it, one choice at a time. And responsibility? It's not just a rational decision, it's an act of the heart. It takes courage to look yourself in the mirror, to admit where you've gone wrong, to forgive your past and still choose to move forward, even when it's uncomfortable. So ask yourself, gently, honestly, if today were the final page in your life story, would you feel proud of how it's been written so far? If not, that's okay, because you can still pick up the pen. You can start a new chapter. Right now. Responsibility isn't a chain, it's a lighthouse. A steady light that guides you forward on a path that only you can walk. And the more steps you take, the more clearly you'll see you don't need to wait for the world to change. Because the change that matters most begins with you. And when you fully own your journey, you realize that not every page has to be filled with victory. Sometimes, the most powerful moments come when you pause, step back, and let go of the constant pressure to win. That leads us to the next lesson in this journey. Lesson 4. Break free from the need to win every argument. Because here's the truth. Your worth is not measured by how many debates you win. You don't need to prove yourself right to be secure in who you are. Real freedom isn't found in applause or admiration. It's found in the quiet confidence to walk away from noise, especially when it serves no real purpose. Stoic philosophy reminds us, true strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about holding your ground without letting the world shake your center. Picture yourself in the middle of an argument. Voices rise, words fly like arrows, your heart pounds, your thoughts scramble to defend your point. But then, what if you didn't fight back? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You always have the option of having no opinion." There is never any need to let your soul be troubled by things you cannot control. When you choose not to engage in every battle, you don't lose. You win something far greater. Peace of mind and control over your inner world. Even the great physicist Richard Feynman, a man known for unraveling the most complex scientific mysteries, understood this. He once said, "I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned." Feynman didn't argue to dominate. He listened, he learned, he let go of ego. That's the art of letting go of the pressure to always be right. Not because you're indifferent, but because you're wise enough to know that every argument has its limits. And often, the true driver behind our need to argue? It's not logic, it's ego. But what happens when we loosen ego's grip and choose inner stillness over external victory? Often, what keeps us locked in conflict isn't truth, it's ego. And when we learn to set that ego aside, we begin to experience the kind of peace no argument can ever win. But here's the thing about ego. It's fragile. It's like a delicate mirror, constantly craving reflection, constantly needing validation, just to feel real. And when someone challenges us, especially in public, our first instinct is often to protect that mirror at all costs. So the next time you find yourself stepping into a debate, pause and ask yourself, am I truly seeking the truth or am I defending my ego? If the answer leans toward ego, take a step back. Because here's a quiet truth. Truth doesn't beg to be defended. It stands steady, even in silence. Let's take a simple, everyday example. You're in a team meeting. You've just shared your idea, something you're proud of. But then a colleague challenges it, maybe even publicly. The sting hits fast. What do? You could respond immediately, fueled by frustration. Or you could pause, breathe, and ask, is there something valuable in their point of view? What can I learn from this? That one pause changes everything. Instead of escalating tension, you diffuse it. Instead of creating resistance, you create respect. And in that moment, you do something powerful. You win hearts, not arguments. And that is a deeper, longer-lasting kind of victory. Stoicism teaches us that silence is not weakness. Silence, when chosen with awareness, is a profound act of strength. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choosing not to engage in every battle doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've made space for peace to settle in, for clarity to rise above the noise. In that silence, you no longer obsess over proving a point. You begin to see the bigger picture, one that ego often hides from view. Now, how can you practice this mindset in daily life? Here are 3 simple, practical steps. Use the 3-second pause. The next time someone challenges you, don't respond. Right away, pause, inhale. Ask yourself, is a response really necessary here? That small breath gives you room to choose wisely. Refocus on the true goal. In any conversation, ask, what am I really trying to achieve here? If your goal is to find solutions, redirect the energy toward resolution, not reaction. Keep a reflective journal. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to note the moments when silence served you better than words. You'll start to see how many quiet victories you've already won. Because here's the ultimate insight. True freedom doesn't lie in being right. It lies in no longer needing to prove it. So here's a gentle challenge for the week ahead. The next time you're pulled into a disagreement, don't respond immediately. Don't defend. Just observe. Just listen. You might be surprised at the strength you find in your silence. And now, let's explore another silent force that shapes our lives more than we realize. Our relationship with time. Silence isn't emptiness, it's power. And as we've just explored, the peace you're searching for doesn't come from winning arguments. It comes from mastering your reactions, choosing where your energy goes, and letting go of ego. Surprisingly, true peace isn't found in words, it's found in restraint. in knowing when to stay silent, in choosing not to attend every argument you're invited to. To wrap up this lesson, remember this: not everyone deserves your energy. Not every disagreement is worth your time. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you choose peace over retaliation, when you release the need to be right, you liberate yourself from the weight of ego. And in that lightness, you create space for the things that actually matter: presence, purpose, and peace. And that, in itself, is freedom. Not freedom that the world grants you, but the kind you give yourself. So pause here just for a moment. You've come this far. You've listened deeply, reflected. And that alone says so much about your strength and your commitment to growth. So I want to congratulate you. Your patience, your focus, it's proof that you're walking this journey with intention. And every piece we've explored so far, it's part of a greater puzzle. And when you stay with me until the very end, you'll begin to see the full picture, how all these lessons combine into one powerful philosophy for letting go and living free. So keep going. The best is still ahead. Lesson 5. Accept your imperfections. Imperfection. What a misunderstood word. It's often treated like something to hide, to fix, to overcome. But what if it's actually the very thing that makes you human? Being imperfect isn't just a condition of life, it's the foundation of growth. And yet, so many of us spend our days trying to deny or mask our flaws. But here's the truth. Your imperfections are not your failures. They are your fingerprints. They are the cracks through which your light enters. To embrace imperfection isn't to give up. It's to finally free yourself from the prison of impossible expectations. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful lens here. Seneca once wrote, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." This line carries quiet wisdom. To truly grow, you don't need to be flawless. You simply need to befriend the person you already are, even the parts you used to hide. Instead of changing everything to cover up your flaws, try changing your perspective. See your imperfections not as stains, but as stories. Because when you stop running from them, something shifts. You begin to reflect. You begin to understand human nature, your own and others. And through that understanding comes peace. You don't need perfection to live meaningfully. You need authenticity. Imagine for a moment a centuries-old ceramic vase. It's cracked. But in Japanese culture, there's a beautiful art form called kintsugi, where those cracks are filled with gold. Not hidden, but honored. The object becomes more valuable because of its history, not in spite of it. Your life is no different. Just like the golden veins of kintsugi, your flaws are not blemishes. They are the very marks that make you whole. And as we've seen, embracing imperfection isn't weakness. It's wisdom. The cracks, the setbacks, the moments you wish you could undo, they all shape the person you are today. Try to erase them, and you risk erasing the essence of your story. But when you choose to embrace them, to fill those cracks with purpose, to see your scars as symbols of survival, that's when transformation happens. Think of them not as damage, but as detail. Let's take Albert Einstein, for example. You might know him as a genius, the father of the theory of relativity. But few remember how his early life unfolded. His teachers once dismissed him, labeling him slow, incapable of learning, by the E standards of the traditional system. He didn't fit the mold. But had he accepted their judgment? Had he tried to fix himself to meet their narrow view of intelligence? We might never have seen the groundbreaking ideas that changed how we understand the universe. Einstein didn't just tolerate his differences, he honored them. What others called imperfection, he turned into innovation. And in doing so, he became someone no one else could be. So how can you begin to embrace your own imperfections? Start by letting go of the illusion of perfection. Because that's all it is, an illusion. A moving target created by society, culture, social media, to keep you running towards something that doesn't exist. Instead of asking, how can I be flawless? Try asking, how can I be more honest with myself? View your flaws not as enemies to conquer, but as companions on your journey. If you make a mistake at work, in a relationship, in life, don't punish yourself. Ask instead, what is this here to teach me? Trade judgment for curiosity, because curiosity invites you to explore yourself with compassion, and that's where true growth begins. Now imagine someone close to you, a friend who's always chasing perfection. They spend hours hiding their insecurities, polishing their image, trying to meet impossible standards. And yet, they never quite feel enough. They're tired, anxious, disconnected from who they really are. Do you see a part of yourself in that? Are you running yourself ragged, trying to look flawless, be flawless, live flawlessly, obsessing over every little misstep? If so, maybe now is the time to pause. Breathe, reconsider. Your imperfections aren't stains, they are signatures. They make you real, they make you human. Think of a painting. Is it beautiful because it's mathematically perfect? Or because its uneven strokes, unpredictable shapes, and raw colors give it soul? Your life is that painting, and its beauty lies in its authenticity. You don't need to erase your imperfect brushstrokes. Let them speak. Because as we've just explored, your flaws aren't flaws at all. They're part of your truth, your beauty, your story. Now I want to leave you with one honest question. If you stopped trying to be perfect and fully embraced everything you are, what would your life feel like? Just try it. Let go, even for a moment, of the heavy armor of perfection. What you'll notice is a kind of lightness, a freedom, the very kind Stoic philosophy has always pointed toward, not through control, but through acceptance. Imperfection isn't a flaw in your design. It's a bridge, a way to connect deeply, authentically, with the world around you. And when you choose to live that way, without pretense or pressure, you begin to feel what real freedom tastes like. That moment of unfiltered presence where you're not performing, you're just being. Because embracing your imperfections is not about settling.
It's about awakening. It's a step forward, a powerful step on your path of self-discovery. But to move even deeper, we must look at something more hidden, more rooted than surface flaws. We must confront the stories we carry within us, the
ones we've been telling ourselves for so long, we no longer question them. So now we ask. Lesson 6. Liberate yourself from limiting stories. You are not the story you keep repeating in your head. Those inner whispers that say, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I'll never change. Those are not facts. They're echoes from the past. Emotional residue. They are fragments of fear woven into belief. Over time, these fragments form something dangerous, an invisible prison, one that doesn't lock your body but your mind. And the key? It's always been in your hand. Stoic philosophy has long reminded us that freedom is never about external conditions. It's not about money, status, or success. It's about learning how to break free from the inner walls we've built. Seneca captured this truth perfectly when he wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Let that sink in. Our greatest pain doesn't usually come from what actually happens, but from the way we imagine it, anticipate it, replay it. And that's exactly what these limiting stories do. They aren't real. But if we repeat them long enough, they begin to feel real. They become masks. Masks we wear so often we start mistaking them for who we are. So ask yourself sincerely, are the things I believe about myself true? Or are they just old scripts I've memorized out of fear? Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being worthy of love, success, or peace. But here's a deeper question, one worth sitting with. What is it that you're truly trying to protect? Because beneath every limiting story is a fear of pain. So many of the limits we live within are not real. They're just stories we've believed for too long. And as we saw, fear is often the silent author behind those stories. But pause and consider this. Haven't those stories caused you more suffering than failure itself ever could? Epictetus once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them." It's not reality that breaks us. It's the meaning we attach to it. It's the narrative we spin and replay until it becomes our truth. But those self-limiting beliefs, they are not facts. They are interpretations, versions of truth shaped by past wounds, by fear, by uncertainty. So try this. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask, "If I didn't believe this story, what would I do?" That question is not just philosophical, it's transformational. It's not a wall, it's a door. Because the moment you stop accepting the old narrative, you create space for a new version of yourself to emerge. And no, that doesn't mean pretending your past never happened. It means choosing to redefine what your past means. Your mistakes, they're no longer signs of failure, they're your training ground. Your limitations, they're no longer walls, they're stepping stones. Freeing yourself from self-limiting stories is not something that happens all at once. It begins with one thing, awareness, realizing you are not the story, you are the storyteller. So picture this, your life is a book. The earlier chapters, they've been written, some filled with joy, some with regret, some with confusion. But the next page, it's blank, and you're holding the pen. You don't need to rewrite the whole story overnight. Start with a sentence, a word, a shift. Instead of saying, "I can't," try, "I'll try." Instead of, "I always fail," say, "I'm learning through each failure." Small shifts in your language create massive shifts in your mindset. And when your story changes, your life follows. Because remember, every journey begins with a single step. But that step takes courage. The courage to release what's familiar, even if it once felt safe. So I ask you now, if you weren't bound by any old story, who would you become? What would your life look like if you let go of the version of yourself that fear created? Don't wait for clarity to come tomorrow. Start now, right here. Begin rewriting your story. One choice, one word, one breath, at a time. Freedom isn't found in some far-off destination. It's in your next thought, your next decision, your next declaration. So say it with me in the comments. I believe in myself. Because when you let go of your limiting beliefs, you create the mental space to begin again and to write a new chapter filled with possibility, peace, and power. When you rewrite your story and break free from old beliefs, there's one final frontier left to face, yourself. Not the version shaped by the world, but the one that lives in silence, beneath the noise. Don't let the past keep you locked in its grasp. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. True freedom doesn't come from fixing the world around you. It comes from the moment you dare to see yourself differently and act with faith, not fear. And once you've shed the stories that no longer serve you, there's one more step, the most intimate, the most powerful. Facing yourself in the quiet, in the stillness, in the solitude that the outside world often fears, but that you can learn to embrace. So now, let's take this final step together. Lesson 7. Embrace the strength in solitude. Perhaps you've known the weight of loneliness, the kind that comes crashing in like a wave, sudden, heavy, and cold. It leaves you adrift, searching for connection, aching to feel understood. But through the lens of Stoic philosophy, that feeling isn't a curse, it's a doorway. Loneliness isn't something to escape. It's a sacred space, one that only the brave are willing to enter. Because inside it, if you dare to stay, is where you uncover the treasure, self-mastery, inner strength, deep peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains, but it is in your power whenever you choose to retreat into yourself." Even thousands of years ago, he knew, the greatest sanctuary is not a place you visit, it's a place you build within. But here's the truth most avoid. To reach that inner refuge, you must first face the part of yourself you usually run from, your thoughts, your fears, your regrets. Solitude is not silence, it is a mirror, and it reflects everything you've tried to hide. In the absence of noise and validation, your mind becomes your only companion. And that's when the test begins. Can you sit with your flaws without flinching? Can you hear your fears without letting them rule you? This isn't punishment, it's purification. Because in that solitude, you stop seeking comfort outside. You begin building something far greater, self-reliance. As Epictetus wisely said, "He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing." This lesson isn't just about material things, it's about the soul. If you can't find peace inside yourself, nothing external will ever be enough. Solitude strips away distraction, and what's left is the truth. A truth that might feel uncomfortable at first, but one that holds the key to your deepest strength. When you sit with solitude long enough, you stop fearing it and start learning from it. And in that quiet space, you begin to discover something remarkable. Your worth has never depended on anyone else's opinion. It's always lived within you. This is the moment you realize a powerful truth. Your value is not determined by how others see you, but by how deeply you understand and care for yourself. In this light, loneliness becomes something entirely different. It's no longer isolation, it's an invitation. An open doorway into the deepest relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. This kind of inner connection isn't just healing, it's freeing. And in Stoic philosophy, that relationship is the cornerstone of true freedom. Think back to a time when you were completely alone. Maybe it was late at night, the house was still, the world quieted down, and suddenly, it was just you and your thoughts. In that moment, it's tempting to reach for distraction, to turn on the TV, check your phone, escape the silence. But what if, just once, you didn't? What if, instead of running from the discomfort, you sat with it? Yes, fear may rise. Insecurity might whisper. But so will a realization that is far more powerful. You are still whole, even when no one else is around. This understanding isn't weakness. It's strength. Because it means you're no longer defined by presence or absence, by approval or rejection. Loneliness doesn't shrink you. It reveals you. So how can you begin to embrace loneliness in a healthy, empowering way? First, shift your mindset. Stop seeing solitude as a void. Start seeing it as a gift, a sacred opportunity to return to yourself, to listen, to reflect, to rebuild. Start small. Take just 15 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no screens. Just you, a quiet space, and your thoughts. Write in a journal, or simply sit. Observe what rises within you without judgment. Then, ask yourself meaningful questions. Not the kind others ask, but the kind that lead you deeper. What do I truly want? What's something I can shift today? Questions like these are seeds. And over time, they grow into clarity, courage, and peace. But perhaps the most important shift of all is this. Stop thinking of loneliness as a condition. It's not something that happens to you. It's a skill, one that, when developed, unlocks a deep sense of self-sufficiency. Once you learn to cherish your own company, you'll find something surprising. You no longer feel desperate for shallow connection. You no longer fear empty rooms or quiet weekends. You become whole. You become powerful. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So why not begin by choosing thoughts that honor your own presence? When you embrace solitude instead of fearing it, something remarkable happens. Your thoughts become clearer, deeper, more your own. And it's in that quiet space that the most profound realizations begin to form. So let me ask you, heart to heart, are you willing to face that silence, to sit with it and discover your true strength? If your answer is yes, then you've already taken one of the boldest steps toward freedom. Because here's the truth. Only when you master being alone can you truly take full ownership of your life. Let loneliness stop being something you run from. Let it become your teacher, your mirror, your quiet strength. This isn't just a nice idea or a feel-good quote. It's a way of living, a shift in how you relate to yourself. One that will transform you, not just momentarily, but for life. Over this journey, we've walked through 7 powerful principles, each one rooted in ancient Stoic wisdom, each one designed to help you focus inward, let go of what no longer serves you, and reconnect with what truly matters. These aren't just philosophies to ponder. They are tools, real, practical tools, to bring you back to a life of clarity, calm, and authentic joy. Because lasting happiness, it doesn't come from what you accumulate or control. It comes from what you understand, accept, and transform within yourself. This path won't always feel easy, but every step, no matter how small, is progress. Every pause, every breath, every uncomfortable truth you face is a gift. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be brave enough to begin. And if this message touched something in you today, if you found value in it, please take a moment to like this video, not just for us, but for someone out there who might need this message, but hasn't found it yet. Leave a comment. Tell us what spoke to you. Share your thoughts, your stories, your reflections. Your words could be the spark that connects us all. And if there's someone in your life, someone struggling, someone seeking, who might need to hear this, share this video with them. Lastly, if you haven't already, subscribe. Because this journey is far from over. We're just getting started, and there's so much more to explore together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Now go, carry this peace with you, and walk forward, one quiet step at a time.